Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Good evening.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. Let me begin by giving you a warm welcome to the PMO PI meeting point, how to assess the maturity of your PMO. Before, let me introduce myself first. My name is Fauzi. I am from PMO PI organizer, and I would be your MC today. Did you know that this is a PMOP meeting point 9? So congrats to PMOPI. And today we also have the special guest speaker. On this special event, we have 3 agendas as follows. First agenda, PMOPI update by Noveli Nur Safitri. Second agenda, the main event about how to assess the maturity of your PMO from our special guest speaker, Americo Pinto. And last agenda, question and answer. Later, you can ask directly or you can put your question in chat. Okay, now we are going to the first agenda, PMOPI update by Feli. To Mbak Feli, please welcome.
Okay, thank you, Pak Fauzi.
You're welcome.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to PMO PI webinar, or this is our meeting point number 9, actually. So we are delighted to have Americo Pinto here. Thank you, Americo, with PMO Indonesia community to share his knowledge about how to assess the maturity of your PMO. It's a very interesting topics. Okay, hello Americo, welcome to Virtual Indonesia. Welcome to Indonesia in virtual. Finally, you're here.
Finally. So thank you, Vali. Thank you very much. Actually, I'd like to thank you, but not only you, Fauzi and Akbar. And actually, you are doing a great job with PMOPI in Indonesia. So congratulations for that, because I really believe that this kind of local initiative is something really important for the evolution of PMO practices, of our community, because our community is made of people, and people they live somewhere, right? So it's very important to encourage initiatives like yours, and congrats for all your efforts to make it happen. It's really important.
Thank you. Thank you also for your support.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Should I start? What would you like to do?
For first time, as usual, in every PMO PI meeting points, we will present the PMO PI updates. It's only 5 minutes for all of you who attend here. Yeah. For all of you who attend here today, especially for the first timer who join our event, we would like to say welcome to PMO PI community. For those of you who are first timer here, you may raise your hands or you may introduce yourself at the chat room. Please feel free. Okay, so I need your 4 or 5 minutes to present this. Okay, here we go. Okay, PMO PI are we should call PMO Professional Indonesia. It's founded by 3 of us, me, Fauzi, and Akbar, and lately now organized by 5 of us with Rahma and Aya. So this community-based not-for-profit organization, and our main objective is to become a learning, sharing, and networking vehicle for PMO professional in Indonesia. So this is our first meeting point. It was in Jakarta in Telkom office with defining PMO challenge in Indonesia, and this is also PMO PI introduction. This is our groundbreaking. Next. Sorry, I have some technical issue here. Sorry, I think I have technical issue here. Oops. Sorry. So this is our second meeting point about winning Asian Games with PMO with Pak Adi Prasetyo in 4 December 2018. And our third meeting point also about overview P3O with Pak Sahlani in Pertamina office. And our meeting point number 4 at Bukalapak by Malik. And this is our meeting point number 5 about increasing PMO perceived value in organization with Pak Isan in Bank Muamalat. And for the webinar, we also have Make Your PMO Strategic with Philip Hasse and with Henny Portman, Agile Myth Busted. And this is the latest with Akbar. It's about your PMO valuing methodology. This is our audience. Most of us is from telecommunication and IT industry. The rest is banking, financial service, e-commerce, transportation, construction, infrastructure, manufacture, and energy. And this is our latest update from us. We are introducing Panduan PMO Indonesia. This will be coming soon this year. And for those of you who wants more info and update about when is the book available, you may click the link here to register your data. So we will let you know when the book is available. Okay, why PMO Indonesia Guide, or now we call Panduan PMO Indonesia? It's not as a competition among current global standards, but rather to fill the gap, to help more towards easy steps for Indonesian organization and practitioner, and basis to measure the benefit of implementing PMO based on PMO Guide. Okay, that's it. So please join us in our channel. There is YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also Instagram. Okay, that's it from PMOPI, and thanks again for joining us and enjoy the webinar. Pak Fauzi, the screen is yours now.
Okay, thank you Mbak Feli for sharing with us, and that was only the beginning. Now we are going to the second agenda, which is the main, how to assess the maturity of your PMO. It's now my pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker, Americo Pinto. Americo Pinto is one of the main authorities in the PMO topic in the Americas, having more than 20 years of experience as an international speaker, consultant, researcher, executive, and author. He's the chair of the PMO Global Alliance Board of Directors, a worldwide community of PMO professionals, professor at many universities in the Americas and Europe, and a regular columnist at the PM World magazine. Americo Pinto received the PMI from the PMI Project Management Institute Distinguished Contribution Award in 2011 in Dallas, Texas, for his contribution to the development of project management practices. He led the 6-year research project that created the PMO value ring, today the most used methodology in the world to create, evaluate, and monitor PMOs focused on value generation. The PMO Global Awards, the largest award in the world for PMOs, was created by Americo Pinto and counts with the participation of more than 500 professionals and companies from more than 100 countries. All this significant set of experiences enables Americo Pinto to know deeply hundreds of project management and PMO success stories, which inspire the valuable insight that he shares in his speech and workshop around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming Mr. Americo Pinto? Mr. Americo Pinto, before we going to your slide, This is have you come to Indonesia? Not yet, right? Have you come to Indonesia?
Your voice is breaking, Pak Fauzi. You may try again.
Have you come
Okay.
to Indonesia?
Americo, you're still on mute mode.
Mute.
Yes.
Okay, I
All
heard
right.
you now. Actually,
Perfect.
yeah, actually, I said no yet, because it's my
Okay.
plans
Yeah.
after the pandemic.
Yeah. Before we start, so Americo, I remember when you
Okay.
last time speak at the last webinar in PMI, you said that you will tell the history of your name, Americo. Why Americo?
Yes,
Why
yes,
not
yes.
America? What are you living in America or Brazil or
Okay,
something?
okay.
You said that you will tell, but then you forgot.
Yes, that's a good question. Well, first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's my pleasure. PMO-PI is one of the associated communities of our PMO Global Alliance. So it's my pleasure to be with you here today. Let me tell you something. If any of you have any questions, would like to make any comments, feel free to do that. I don't know if you usually open the microphone and just speak, or if you prefer to send a message through the chat room. I will be watching. So feel free anytime, right? Remember, I'm Brazilian. We are very informal, right? So no formalities here, right? So feel free to participate as you prefer. So let me tell you this story, Novelli. A few weeks ago, actually, I was speaking for PMI Indonesia, and I mentioned, and I can't remember in which context, but I mentioned that my name, Americo, is there is a reason for this name, right? It looks like America, but why? And so first of all, you need to know something. In Portuguese, in Brazil, we speak Portuguese, not Spanish. That's important because we have been colonized by Portugal, not by Spain. So we speak Portuguese, and in Portuguese, usually names that end with O are male, and names that end with A are female. So America, it should be a woman probably, and Americo, it's a man. When they end in E, A, or U, we are not sure about the gender, but O and A, it's very easy to identify. So that's why it's Americo, not America. But the most important point is why Americo, right? So probably you don't know that, but in the some history, right, for you. In the the 16th century, the Americas, the continent, was discovered by an Italian guy named Christopher Columbus, right? So he was the guy that discovered the Americas. And when they was going to the continent for the first time, actually when he saw the land, he thought that it was East Asia and not a new continent, right? So Columbus saw the Americas and said, okay, we found Asia, because they were trying to find a new way to Asia, because it was a little complicated to use the Mediterranean Sea because of many political and war issues. So as I said, he thought it was East Asia. But he had a friend, a very good friend, another Italian guy named Amerigo Vespucci. Amerigo with a G instead of a C, because Amerigo is the Italian version of Americo, right? And this guy, his friend, Columbus' friend, he was the first one to say that, no, it's not East Asia. Actually, it's a new place. It's a new continent. It's a new land. And because of that, the Americas received his name. And that's why the Americas is called Americas. And so my name is not exactly because of the continent, but it's just because it's a version, a Portuguese version of Americo name that is a very common name in Europe. Not in Brazil. In Brazil, it's not a common name, but my father is Portuguese. So his name is Americo. Actually, I'm Americo Junior. so that's why my name is Americo, and that's why it looks like the continent, So usually when I visit the US, people believe that it's a kind of, a tribute to the America, but it's not. Actually, it comes much earlier than the country. So that's it, right?
Okay, it's a long story, yeah, about your name.
Yes.
But interesting.
It's good. It's
Okay.
some history of the word, right? So let's start the technical stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. So today we are here to talk about PMO maturity. PMO maturity is something that is really important if you want to evolve your PMO, right? Because maturity in a certain way means evolution. If you are more mature, we can say that you are more evolved, right? So the question is, how can we evolve and how can we understand our maturity? How can we plan our future maturity? And how can we plan the journey, right? Because of course we have to plan how we will mature, how we will evolve our PMO. So the first point that we have to discuss, I have some slides to show you, but I usually prefer to speak than show slides. So I'm going to show you some slides later, but first I'd like to tell you some ideas, important ideas. Some of them I mentioned in my previous speech for PMI Indonesia, but I will try to, review the most important points and enter specifically in the maturity concept. The first thing that you have to consider is that PMOs, they are different from company to company. And why? Because actually PMO is a name, is a title, right? That many people use it to name specific areas in their organizations, but it doesn't mean that they have the same thing at their companies. So if I take your company, compare with my PMO, your PMO and my PMO, probably I will see that they are totally different. And is it a problem? No, actually it's more than normal. That's what should happen. And because PMOs should fit different needs. Maybe the only thing that PMOs have in common is the name PMO. Sometimes not even that, because people give new names and, very trained names like, I don't know, strategic, PMO, value, project management, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Actually, what really matters is what you are doing, what you are providing to your organization. That's what makes the difference, okay? So the point is, how can I define what my PMO will be? That's the first point. Because we have different PMOs. We have to understand what kind of PMO we need, right? And we don't have to follow pre-established models. And why? Because, first of all, a pre-established model is something that you read about in a book, in an article, or something that you heard about when you attended a conference, or maybe it's that PMO of your neighbor, right, of your colleague in another company that you saw that they are doing a great job, and you say, hey, that's the PMO I want. I'm going to do the same thing here. The problem when you try to copy, right, some models is that maybe you are trying to use something that is not what you really need. So there is no ideal PMO. There is no, there is no standard for PMO. That's why there is no, we can't have a PMO block, for example, right? And it's not because people haven't tried. Actually, they tried, but it's very difficult to find a consensus, because it's easy to find a consensus about how to create a schedule, or how to prepare a budget, or how to manage risks. But when we talk about PMOs, they are so different. And my PMO is good for me. Your PMO is good for you. So I can't say that there is a standard PMO that everybody should follow. Because if we try to follow, or if you try to seek for the ideal PMO, and the ideal PMO should be like this, the ideal PMO should do this kind of thing, maybe you will spend money, spend time, spend the resources with things that are not really important for you. So the first thing that you have to understand is PMOs are different, they should be different, and it's not a problem, actually. The problem is when you believe that there is the best way to do a PMO, right? To configure a PMO. If you do that, probably you will try to follow something that you are not sure that what really makes sense for you. That's the most important point. Okay. Let me see if there is any question. No. Okay. So if you understood that, we can start with the next step, right? The next step is you have to give up all trendy magic pills that you will find in your life for PMOs. Magic pills are those ideas, usually very glamorous, right? That says that these ideas say that everything will be resolved, will be okay if you implement that magic pill. From time to time, new magic pills arise. For example, the Agile PMO, the Center of Excellence, the Value Management PMO. Again, all these trendy names are really cool, I agree. But the problem is they tell you what you have to do. And when you see a list of things that a PMO should do, there is a problem. And why? Because probably your PMO will have to take, parts of each model, each possibility, to create your own solution. So what I'm saying is, does every PMO provide, for example, portfolio management? Not necessarily. And I'm going to tell you why. Every PMO needs to provide methodology. It's very common, but maybe not, depending on your needs. Okay, every PMO needs to provide, for example, training, project management training. Maybe not, depending on your demands. So what I'm saying is, we have to take what makes sense for us, right? If at the end we see that there is a nice name for that, okay, great, you can say that. But usually, actually, I can tell you that there is nothing that proves that these pre-established models, they really works, right? Usually they are proposed by consultants, by authors, and I'm not saying that they are bad. No, they are good. But the problem is they are based on the experience of these people. And statistically speaking, it's only one experience. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, probably he or she is telling you something that worked very well at that situation. But it doesn't mean that when you try to move that experience to your company, it will work again. There is nothing that can really ensure that it will happen, right? So, again, you have to create your own solution. That's the point. You have to create your own solution. So let me show you something, just a moment. before starting to tell you a little more about maturity, I have to share my screen. It's important. Just a second. Okay, I think now you can have my presentation, right? So that's me, how to assess the maturity of your PMO. I work for PMO Global Alliance, you know that, right? And just let me give you some information about PMO Global Alliance, because this context is important for you to understand from where all this information came, right? The PMO Global Alliance is a global community with members from everywhere. Actually, today we have more than 120 companies, 120 countries with members around the world. Indonesia, of course, right? And it was founded 5 years ago. It's the largest community of PMOs in the world. We have more than 10,000 members, right? And what we do is we develop projects that are led by our members. Most of the time, that's what we do. So we have some certifications like PMO CP, Certified Practitioner. We have events. For example, we're going to have a big event now in October, the PMO Global Awards Experience. We have the awards, the largest in the world. We have some research. We have resources, and you can see the PMO value ring methodology. That's where all these ideas that I will tell you comes. We have publications, and we have some learning, right? Some learning initiatives. So all these projects, they are conducted and led by our members. So if you are a member, you can in some way participate and contribute with the evolution, of this community and of the PMO profession. So now let's talk again about the topic, right? About maturity. I was saying that PMOs are different, so it's all a matter of perspective. In my perspective, my PMO makes sense. In your perspective, your PMO makes sense. There is no right or wrong, okay? And that's why I show an elephant, because depending on the side that you are around the elephant, you're gonna see something different, but it's still an elephant, right? So that's the PMO. Maybe depending on your perspective, you will see something different, but it's still a PMO, because every PMO, in a certain way, it centralizes project management functions, and that's what you are doing, okay? As I said, there are no wrong answers. You can go right, you can go left. What you have to try is finding which is your correct way, right? Because every company, every PMO will need a different solution. I'm going to tell you a little more about that. To answer this question, the question that is, what is my way, right? How can I configure, how can I set up a PMO that makes sense for me, for my company? The first point is understanding who are your customers. When I say customers, I'm talking about PMO stakeholders. For example, your directors, your project, your functional managers, maybe your project team members, all of them will be stakeholders. I usually say that stakeholders are those guys that in some way they will judge your work. They will evaluate what you are doing because you are providing something for them.
Sorry, Americo.
Yeah.
Can you use the slideshow to the presentation? Because we are
I'm using. Yes, you are not.
Yeah, it's not full screen yet.
No, it's because I'm using more than one monitor, so I'm showing you the wrong monitor. Just
how many monitor you have?
Yeah, three monitors.
3, excellent.
Yeah, Can you see now?
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I didn't
No,
realize it.
It's okay.
So, so the customers, you have to identify them. The most important customers, usually they are your directors because they pay the bill, right? They will be those ones that will be responsible for the expenses of the PMO. So it means that they have to understand the value of what you are doing. That's something very important. The concept of value. Value is something that you can try to calculate in terms of numbers, but it's not something really easy to be done, especially when we talk about project management. We have many initiatives in the academia trying to calculate the ROI of project management. But most of them, actually all of them, the most important ones, they were inconclusive. They couldn't calculate that. They couldn't show in numbers the value of project management. And why? Not because there is no value, but because project management is not the end. You know, it's something that you are trying to do to support the business. So there is a long way between what you are doing as a project management practice and the result for your business in most of the companies. So it's not something that you can create a direct relationship between what you do in terms of project management and the results you have in terms of business. I'm not saying that there is no value. I'm saying that it's really difficult to correlate these two variables. So it means that when you talk about PMOs, the situation is worse. And why? Because if project management is not the end, right, is the middle of the journey, the PMO is the middle of the middle. Can you understand that? Because the PMO is there to support project management, and project management is there to support the business. So the distance between your PMO, what your PMO is doing, and the final result for the business is really, really long. So it's difficult. It's very difficult to create relationships in terms of money, in terms of numbers. Again, we have some initiatives trying to show that, but they were inconclusive too. If someone wants to know more about that later, I can share some books and articles with you about that. But anyway, okay, what I'm saying is we have to show value, but it's difficult to do that in terms of numbers. So what can we do about that? So our research, the research that has been conducted by PMO Global Alliance in the last 7 years developed a methodology named PMO Value Ring. Probably some of you already know about that. And one of the most important points of this methodology is the idea that instead of trying to calculate the value based on numbers, we will try to work with another concept that came from other areas, other fields. For example, psychology, customer service, marketing. This concept is perception of value. Perception of value is not a number. Perception of value is a feeling, right? It's something that you feel. It's like if I ask you, hey, do you feel that this thing is good for you? And you stop, you think, and you say, yes, I feel it's good. And maybe if I ask you, okay, but why? Try to explain that. You say, I don't know. I can't explain exactly why, but I feel that is something good for me. And that's something very important for a PMO, maybe more than numbers, because when you create this feeling, this perception of value among your customers, the chances of being recognized is much higher. And that's what will make the difference for you between surviving and thrive or not. So we have to try to find this perception of value. And how can we do that? That's the good question, right? So I'm going to tell you about something that I named the formula of happiness. The formula of happiness is something very, very simple, right? It's mathematics, right? If you like it. It's like this. Imagine, right, with me. We have happiness. Happiness is age, right? So age is equal to R, letter R, divided by letter E, okay? And the result is a percentual. So letter R is reality. Reality is what you are doing, right? It's how you set up your PMO. That's the reality of your PMO. And letter E is expectations, the expectations of your customers, of your stakeholders. So what I'm saying is, if your reality is smaller than expectations, for example, it means that the result will be a percentual below 100%. So for example, 50%, 60%. It means that your customer is not really happy, right? So what you have to do is you have to create a reality for your PMO that really meet the expectations of your customers. Meet, or maybe, they can be higher than the expectations. So you need at least 100% in terms of results to get the perception of value you want. Okay, Americo, but how can I do that? How can I create this reality? And how maturity is related to that? That's a good question. So the point is, we have to make them feel the value, right? That's what I told you. And if I want to do that, the first step is understanding what they expect in terms of results. That's something very important. Look, I said results. I don't said functions, for example. And why? Because if you go to your stakeholder and ask him or her, hey, would you like to have a methodology? Or would you like that I provide to you some reports? Or maybe, do you think that we should provide portfolio management? Your stakeholders, they can't answer your questions. And why? Because they are your customers. They don't know, right? And actually, probably they don't matter about that, because what they want is the result, is the benefit. The way that you will get there is something that is up to you, right? Because you are the expert on this matter. It's like, imagine, it should be like you go to a physician because you are sick, right? And you meet your doctor and you say, hey, doctor, actually I'm feeling bad, and what can I do? And the doctor tell you, okay, this is a list of medicine, right? So you can choose what you want, because I want to know your expectations. Of course, you will see that and say, come on, no, I don't know which medicine I should take. Actually, that's what I expect from you, because you are the expert, right? The only thing that I know is my pain. That's exactly what happened in your company, because what your customers know is about their pains, their problems, the benefits that they need, the expectations they have. What you have to do is understand these expectations, understand these benefits, and propose how you can get them. So you will not ask them, do you want a methodology? Do you want some reports? Do you want some portfolio management? Because it would be like the doctor asking about the medicine, right? Medicine should be prescribed. So it makes much more sense if you try to understand what they really want. For example, they want less risk in the decision-making process. They want people more motivated and maybe with more competencies in project management. They need reliable information to make a decision. They want some kind of integration between strategy projects, because today they can't see, this connection between projects and strategy. You can see that all of this stuff, they are results, they are benefits, right? So you, as an expert, you will have to tell to your customers how you will reach these benefits. For example, if you want people more motivated, okay, maybe I will provide some training, some mentoring. If you say that you want more reliable information because you want to make some decisions, maybe I will give you some reports. If you tell me that you want some kind of connection between strategy and projects, I will tell you that I can support you managing the portfolio. So there is a relationship between each thing that you do and the results that you will create. And why did I tell you that PMOs are different? Because expectations are different. So if you try to bring the reality of other company to your current company, saying that that configuration is the best one for you, probably you will fail, because that configuration was really good for that company, but not for yours, because actually the expectations of your stakeholders are different. So you have to do something different, and there is nothing wrong with that, right? So what I'm saying is, instead of creating your PMO from pre-established models, remember, that told you that tell you what to do, try to understand what people want from you and create your PMO based on this information, on their pain, right? Because like that, you will increase the chances of delivering perception of value. Because if you are doing something really good, really, let me rephrase, if you are doing something for them that they don't need, because they don't see any benefit from what you are doing, they will not perceive the value of your work. And many PMOs fail because of that, because they are much more focused on doing what they believe that should be done than doing what people really need. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly the point that you have to consider. Okay? All right. So create your all solution. That's what you have to do. Now we are ready to talk about maturity, right? And why? Because maturity without alignment means failure. I'm going to tell you why, okay? The first thing that you have to consider is this one. Are strategic PMOs mature? So we have operational PMOs, we have strategic PMOs. Do you believe that strategic PMOs are more mature than operational PMOs, for example? That's a good question, right? If you said yes, I'm going to prove to you that it's wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. Look, there are three independent approaches for PMOs. They can be a little strategic, they can be a little tactical, they can be a little operational, they can be all of three approaches at the same time. It's not a problem. And why? Because a PMO can provide many different functions. Again, methodology, portfolio management, benefit management, training, planning support. There are many different functions. Each function will have a specific approach. For example, many of them are strategic, some of them are tactical, many of them are operational. So you will decide if you have to deliver that function or not, because that function will be able to deliver some specific expectation, right? So what I'm saying is, if your stakeholders have much more operational expectations than strategic expectations, it can happen. It means that your PMO will be much more operational than strategic. But if their expectations are more strategic, maybe the balance will be different. Let me give you an example. My PMO was working very well before the COVID, okay? And my PMO was very focused on the portfolio management, because I, as the president of the company, I was very concerned about the portfolio for the next 15 years. So I would like to have a clear vision of my portfolio for the next 15 years. So my PMO was very strategic. And why? Because it was providing portfolio management, benefit management, and some other functions that are directly related to the strategic approach. So the COVID came and everything has changed. Why? Because now my company is in a very financial difficult, right? What I have to do as a president now is try to save the company, right? So it means that I have to ensure that our current projects can be delivered on time and on cost, right? Because it's the only way to make some cash, and maybe next year we will still be alive, right? So my demands, my needs, my expectations as a president now are totally different. What I want is to make the company survive. I'm focused on delivering projects on cost, on time. So I'm talking about some operational stuff. All of these are very operational, right? So it means that my PMO should adapt. Because imagine if the PMO manager come to me and say, hey, I'm thinking, I was working on the portfolio for the next 10 years. As a president, I will say, come on, are you crazy? In 10 years, we'll be dead, right? Actually, we have to focus on our current projects. That's what I need now. So there is nothing wrong if you are operational. You can be operational and you are delivering value. You can be strategic and you are delivering value too. You can be all of them, all of these three possibilities, and you will be delivering value. The question is how much aligned you are with the expectations. Okay, so if you evolve from the operational to the strategic level, it doesn't mean that you are more mature. And why? Because if you are not operational anymore and now you are more strategic, it's not because you are more mature, it's because you are trying to realign your PMO with the needs of your stakeholders. So being strategic, being tactical, or being operational is a matter of alignment. It's not a matter of maturity. Okay? That's what you have to remember. And why? Because there are two types of maturity. We have the concept of organizational maturity and the concept of PMO maturity. They are similar in some way, but they are very different when we have to deal with them. Let me tell you what it means. Organizational maturity is how good is your company when you are managing projects, programs, and portfolio. How are your practices for managing this, your projects, your programs, and your portfolio? So there are many models that you can use to do that, to assess your organizational maturity. For example, P3M3, it's provided by Axelos, right? It's a very good model today. I believe it's the best one. A few years ago, PMI had one. It was OPM3, but I think it's not available anymore. But it was an interesting model. Usually, these models, they are aligned with the standards provided by these organizations, okay? So with these models, you can evaluate the maturity of your company, okay? It's interesting because usually in the middle of the questionnaire, it's usual to have a questionnaire. So in the middle of the questionnaire, you will find one question. There is a question like this: do you have a PMO? And if you say yes, it means that you are a little more mature. If you say no, your maturity is lower. But when you say yes, we know that it depends on the PMO you have, right? Because let's suppose that I have a PMO and you have a PMO. Both of us will say yes, but I know that your PMO is able to generate much more perception of value than my PMO. So it's different, you know? The maturity of your organization is one thing, and the maturity of our PMOs, it's another thing. So what is PMO maturity? PMO maturity is defined by the sophistication of your PMO. How good it is in those things, in those functions that the PMO is performing, okay? So let me give you an example. Let's suppose that I have a PMO that provides methodology, and you also have a PMO that provides methodology. So we are doing the same thing, okay? Both PMOs are doing the same thing, providing methodology. In my PMO, my methodology doesn't cover everything that it should cover, all the aspects, technical aspects that should be covered. People, they don't use it because they are not trained, very well trained. Those people that use the methodology, actually, they don't know how to use it, so they commit many mistakes. There is a very high level of resistance, so people don't like the methodology. Am I providing methodology? Yes, but that's my situation. Now let's evaluate your company. In your company, there is a methodology that covers all the technical aspects that you need. This methodology, everybody's trained in this methodology, and they use the methodology in every project. They know how to do that, so you can't see many mistakes, right? Actually, they are satisfied with the methodology, and now the methodology is being proven. So look, we are doing the same thing. I'm providing methodology, you are providing methodology, but the level of sophistication are totally different. The level of maturity are totally different. You are much more maturity than me. And why? Because actually you are delivering more value than me, because it's not enough to provide the correct function. You have to do it correctly in a high level of sophistication, right? So sometimes you are doing what you have to do, but you are not doing in the best way possible. So it's a problem. So sophistication is the key. Every PMO function has 4 maturity levels. That's what the model that I'm going to show you provides. 4 maturity levels for each PMO function, and we are talking about 26 functions. Maturity levels demonstrate an evolution in the sophistication with which each function is performed. So again, if I'm providing methodology, there are 4 ways to do that. The first one is a very basic one, and the 4th level means that you are doing that in a very high level of sophistication. Okay, that's the idea. So a mature PMO delivers more value. That's the idea, right? Because if you are doing something right, the probability of generating perception of value will be higher. Let me give you some detailed examples. Look, we have the concept of maturity driver. The maturity driver. The maturity driver is the trigger that makes your PMO evolve from one level to the next level, right? For example, this concept demonstrates which factors determine the evolution of the maturity of each PMO. It directly influences the generation of perceived value, right? And these triggers identify that the PMO has evolved from a lower to a higher maturity level, as I told you. Let me give you a real example. Provide project management methodology. This is the function, right? So standardization is one of the triggers. So you can have a very low level of standardization or a very high level. So it means that everyone is doing that thing as they prefer. There are many types of schedulings, of budget models. You know, there is no standards in your company. So it means that you have a low level of standardization. Alignment with best practice. Okay, we're doing that, but it's not aligned with the best practice for preparing a risk analysis, for example. Completeness. So how many projects are really doing, completeness is, are you covering all aspects that you need in your company? For example, in my company, it's very important to cover aspects related to risk management. So the completeness of my methodology means that my methodology covers risk management very well. Adoption rate, maybe everything is defined, but people just don't use it. So the adoption rate can be very low or it can be very high. Correctness, people are using or not, it's a point, it's the last one, adoption rate, but sometimes they are using everything, but they are not using correctly. So it's because they haven't been prepared for that, no training, for example, okay? Resistance, it means that they don't like it, they don't use it, right? They don't want to use it, or on the other hand, maybe they are open for the methodology and they believe it's really good. Appropriate training. So all these items, they are triggers to show how mature is your function. Okay, function by function. For every function, the triggers will be different. So let me give